Do we have everything ready? I don't think so.
I don't think so. One sec.
This feels good. There we go.
Feels much better.
Nice.
Damn, girl, you drive like.
I do. Today I was the driver. Natalie was the passenger for Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right, people. Another week, another episode. This one's very special because we have a very, very special guest with us. Not here. But
We'll put
but
your
here.
picture here. Sorry. I'm a little bit chilly.
Yeah.
It's sweater weather.
Sweater. Do you want to start off by describing your outfit that you do not have a sweater?
Yeah. First off, your hair, Miss Girl.
My hair. Okay, guys, update. I feel like myself again. I knew the pink peach hair was only for the summertime, but even before that, I don't think I had gotten it to be like my old hair since like a few years ago, and now she's back. And honestly, the person I went to, miracle worker, we love her.
Leslie was scared of being bald.
I was, because I didn't want to damage my hair. It was a whole thing. It's happy, it's healthy, it's cut, it's really
The color and the
great.
shape that you want.
Yeah. We're gonna grow it out, and maybe we'll have a few more blonde
Streaks
streaks
higher.
in
But
the
for
future.
the fall, this is
But for the fall, this is my fall hair.
This is Leslie's fall hair.
Yeah.
So probably
That's an
the
update.
interview part that we have.
Yeah, that was
She'll
pre-filmed.
have pink hair, but that was pre-filmed because then she got her hair done. So, you know.
Outfit's the same though.
Outfit's the same. Everything's the same.
Yeah.
Except I'm wearing the wrong bra today. But everything's the same.
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to say, I think everything's pretty much.
Pretty much the same. Anyways.
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing this, like, is it peplum
Baby doll.
baby doll top from Target. They have this in black and green. They have a skirt with it, but I don't like the skirt.
Okay.
But I like the top. I got this originally for a baby shower that I went to during the summer. And it was cute.
Yeah.
I wore some little shorts, a little shoes, a little action.
What are you wearing right now?
So I'm wearing this.
Okay. But you're
And
not wearing
then-
that outfit.
No, I know, but I'm explaining why I got this shirt. You cut me out, girl. Anyways,
Because you're going on a tangent
so
again.
I have this shirt. I have my work outfit underneath, so I have some like warm leggings and some shoes. And then my hair is slicked back today, different from the video.
You like it? Natalie might go get her hair done.
I might go get my hair done, so we'll see.
Next
We'll
video.
see. I'm waiting for a response. We'll see. What are you wearing?
I am wearing Baggy Dad. We don't even have to go there.
Golas.
And Golas. From the
Very
bottom down.
It's gonna
This is
be-
the thing though, people. I do obviously switch the different colors of the pants, but I just have all of the
I don't
colors.
think so.
They're all the same.
She don't like
I'm wearing this Anthropology Martini tee. Again, this has nothing to do with what our topic is today. I think
No.
it's just we're entering the fall era, fall vibe.
fall clothes.
Yes, and so we're getting ready for that. And then this olive green Reformation sweater, which I love. I think the shape of it is just perfect.
Also, the color compliments you a lot.
Thank you.
Especially
with
with
your
your
hair. I really want to get the red one and the light blue one. I have
Mhm.
the black one and the green one. So,
Yeah.
you know, if Reformation wants to sponsor me, do a collab.
Anyways,
yeah.
moving on to our next.
That's what I'm doing.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah, I'm just a girl segment. First thing, PSA to all the ladies. If you're looking for the perfect lip gloss and you don't want it to break the budget, the e.l.f. lip glosses, which is what I'm currently wearing right now, I literally have them in 4 colors. I'll show you.
She's gonna whip them out,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
She's gonna whip them out.
Do you want to start with yours while I whip them out?
I don't perchance have
I have all
one.
I have like 4 colors. Anyways, they're amazing.
I don't have a like update other than this week, I believe. No, next week they'll be selecting sexiest man. But Harry Styles has won Sexiest Musician. This is his second year winning it. So,
Also going off of that beat, I don't know if you guys caught up with their episodes. They were pre-filmed.
Yes.
We did add a little snippet though, where we talked a little bit about Liam at the end of the Birkin episode, I believe.
Birkin.
Mm-hmm. But this is the first time we're filming post Liam.
This has been third week since his passing,
which is kind of crazy.
It's still kind of crazy and hard to believe, especially now that for those that followed him on TikTok or have occasionally fallen into his TikTok account, TikTok have done like a memoriam for him, so every time you go on it just says like in memory, and then they have that. And also he was doing a collab with somebody else, and the song will be released, I believe, this Friday.
That's what it reminded me.
There'll be that, and supposedly the people that were behind him writing his newest album, are still working to make sure that gets released for the public.
I think it's still like all fresh. So
it's all
figuring stuff out.
And people, and especially the boys, we've heard that they've all commented, we've all seen it, but as well, honestly, I don't think they needed to be honest. No. We didn't need for them to comment about it, because it's something that they're dealing with, especially since they're very close. They were all very close, but we're grateful for it. But again, I feel like for most of us it was like, but it wasn't necessary. Like, it wasn't something that we should have demanded from them, to be honest.
I feel like the fandom though is kind of like, in a way, kind of come back a little bit, in the sense that like their music is charting again.
Yeah, from 58 to 39 now.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. But I feel like that's just the way that we all kind of like mourn, just like reminiscing on that time.
Someone on Twitter released the dates that all of the albums came out, because technically all of their albums came out in November. So they put the exact dates that they were released, so everyone's like, so on these days we're just listening to this album. So they're like, that way, because they're back in the Billboard charts. They're back in everything.
I think a lot of people underestimated how big of a boy band they were.
And
my thing too is just like, not only were they huge, but the way that they rose to fame was really quick.
Yeah.
So that's also very interesting.
It has to do. Yeah.
But yeah.
So there's that going.
Those are
They're filming People and Me on Vacation.
Oh my gosh, the pictures of her outfits.
The pictures of her outfits have been.
I feel like I thought it was gonna be a little bit cringy with her outfits, because of like the whole like the one with the other.
It Ends With Us.
That one, but this is like good.
No, I feel like it's very spot on to her character in the book.
Also, because I feel like his character too is like spot on, where it's like polar opposites.
Yeah,
he's just like a plain t-shirt.
I
can't. I'm so ready for this movie. Like, this is my favorite book, and I think it was my first Emily Henry book.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah,
literally ready for it.
So those are a few little notes, little updates that have come for the girlies, you know, because I'm just a girl. Yeah. And I'm doing this with this.
Wait, can I add one more?
Yeah.
Paul Mescal and
Gladiator.
Yeah. But did you see the cover that they did? Him and
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. For entertainment.
Yeah, I said Entertainment Today, Tonight,
Weekly, something. Anyways, with statues.
Someone said putting Greek gods next to Greek god statues was the best thing ever, and I was like, that's true. That's true. Where is their statue?
Literally great. So I'm ready for that.
Anyways, also we were watching This Is Us.
Live in Time. Oh, sorry.
This Is Us, and when they're performing in the Coliseum, like in that area, Niall, if you watched it, he's like running, and then he was like, what does he say? He's like,
where are the gladiators?
Or something like that. He says something.
Like, he references the movie.
He references the first movie, and then me and Leslie were like,
yeah.
And I told Leslie, I have a feeling that if they didn't do him dirty for Don't Worry Darling, Harry could have potentially come out in The Gladiator.
Yeah. Speaking of his co-star, we finally watched We Live in Time.
Oh,
sobbed all the way home. Sobbed a little bit the next day. If you've gone through grief, this is a perfect depiction of it.
Yeah.
It's just...
For the people that said they didn't understand it,
How do you not understand it?
it's this thing of they're going back and forth, yes, but they're
It's in the
explaining how
title.
they get it.
We live in time.
Yeah.
So the whole movie is about the little time, the
Times
little moments.
that they lived together, that they experienced, that they
It's
felt,
beautiful.
that they...
It's beautiful.
Chef's
Work of art.
kiss.
Work of art.
So whoever is out
She's
here...
a chef. Chef's good.
So whoever was saying, like, no, like, clearly you didn't understand what they were going for. I understood that Andrew Garfield needs to be a girl dad.
Yeah, that's also another thing. He was such a cinnamon roll in that. Like, Emily Henry, what book do we want him in? Because
Maybe he could be book lovers.
He could be book lover. He could be the one. Yeah. He could be... Okay, well, that's all
And then
there.
who's going to be Norris? The shark.
It has to be somebody What if they team them up again, him and Florence Pugh? But this time Florence Pugh's like, I could see it. I could see it. We're cooking.
Emily Henry. Also, if you need, like, the music playlist,
Also-
I got you.
Also, you know who else? Paul Mescal and Ayo Debris need to be the one in Funny Story. They need to. They'd be so funny. The comedic element would be there. It'd
Also,
be
there's
so funny.
There's Happy Place, Funny Story, Beach Read, Book Lovers.
Yeah. Obviously, for Beach Read, we want Harry.
Harry, okay, I would do Harry
Mhm.
or Dylan O'Brien. My man needs to be in a rom-com.
Yeah.
He needs redemption.
I could see him in Happy Place, though, Dylan.
But you said Paul Mescal.
No.
Yes, you did.
I said
Oh,
for
Funny Story.
Funny Story.
No.
Just got 5.
Funny Story, Dylan, Paul Mescal, and them could be in Happy Place.
I don't know. But we
Because
definitely
they have
think
more of
either-
like a comedic, but like very storytelling. I just think of him in Normal People.
Yeah, and then I think
And
of
it's
her
gonna be a
in
show,
Cooking.
so-
Yeah. Hey,
Jennifer
you never know.
Lopez,
You never
don't
know.
fuck this up.
That's awesome. Let's hope that
Please, this is
They
they're
all-
all good stories.
Yeah.
Whoever directs Funny Story, please
make
put
sure
my
it's
man,
good, make sure it's
put my man
cooking.
Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah.
He already came out in that one with Zoe Deutsch. Where
Maybe
he was,
him and Zoe.
I could see it.
Mhm.
Harry.
Anyways, leave your thoughts about all of this because we could
Guys,
go on a rant.
We can
We
make a
go
whole
on
episode
rant.
of this.
Put down below who you want to see play these parts.
Yeah.
And tag Emily Henry.
Emily Henry, I have the playlist for you.
Let's chat about it. Let's talk about it. Anyways.
So before we cut this segment to move to the next segment, let's start this podcast.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Leslie Marie.
And I'm Natalia.
And this is the We Are Fashionably Late podcast,
We're not fashionably late in this episode.
where we talk about the clothing we wear.
And the untold but very true stories about why we wear what we wear. Damn, that echo.
That really did echo because of your windows closed.
Anyways,
cut the show. Cut.
Alright.
Children
Children, class
is in session.
is in session.
I feel like
Students,
you need like something.
a gavel.
No, that's for lawyers.
Hold on.
Okay. She's playing the part.
Actually, no. I need my glasses. Anyways, so the history of thrifting and
That's
why
our topic today.
we thrift. As you can see on the title, the details,
Right
we
here.
worded out a little bit to get a little bit more information for you guys. Like we're talking about thrifting, but of course more thorough stuff.
Yeah,
about
for
it.
sure. A little bit more in depth.
More in depth.
Mhm.
So the history of thrifting, fashion world,
Why it came to
Why it
be,
came to be,
how it started.
a fascinating journey
Let's
of
go through the
economic
history.
shifts.
Yeah.
cultural trends, and sustainability moments.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to that, guys. Remember, highlight that on your book.
If you're taking notes.
You're taking notes.
If you're driving, keep driving. Keep your
Keep
eyes on the
driving.
road.
Focus,
keep your
please.
ears
Do
here.
not pick up that phone.
Yeah.
Do not write this. Okay. So the early origins of thrifting started in the late 19th century and the early 20th century, which is when, Leslie?
Don't tell me. I'm trying to rack my brain around it, and I'm like, I want to say
The 19th century. What number?
1800.
There we go. 20th century is the 19th, which is really weird, but
Why did I want to say 1980s?
I did not name them like that. So thrifting in its earliest forms can be traced back
To
in
that
this century, in these centuries, Particularly
Word.
because during these periods, there's a lot of economic hardships.
So maybe not word.
So such as like the Great Depression that we know after the Roaring 20s. We got this whole high of old money, and then we went
So it
into
was
that.
more out of need, and it
was-
wasn't glamorous.
It
by any
wasn't that
sense.
glam that we got in the 1920s. Which is so funny because everyone was like 2020 is going to be the roaring 20s, and then we were in a pandemic, so that's a little bit.
Those are other things that happen.
Anyways, so people began purchasing secondhand clothing, or they were kind of like making their own, kind of with what they had, remaking their own.
Back to the idea of the denim, where there was patches, they were reworking what they had.
With what they had. So it's like, if you grew out of that, they were basically rebuilding silhouettes and all that stuff, which I feel like that's has to do with how a lot of women started now working in like the factories. I feel like maybe.
I think also another element to that is they were saying how like sewing is a lost talent because now we have fast fashion. People don't really need to sew. They could just go out and buy like a $5 t-shirt, $10 t-shirt, whatever. But I think it is a skill that we still need.
Yes.
And back then they really needed it because like they were their own seamstress, they were their own tailors. They would adjust and adapt,
especially during that time. Which also it's fun. I had this conversation today in at work, and so they were like telling me like my background, like asking me, and like, you know, as some of you know, me and Leslie, we're sewing teachers for little children in a little camp, but as well as ourselves have a lot of background of sewing because of our mom and our grandma,
and our great grandma,
which that's a little history.
There's tea there.
And so a lot of people, when I say like, yeah, I know how to sew, they get so surprised. They're like, oh, you sew? And like, and then they ask me like, do you know how to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like funny because it's like fashion has become such an important aspect of our life. Yet the whole idea and the beginning of creating these garments is lost.
Also, sewing. I feel like another thing that people kind of lose touch, especially with fast fashion, is that they just assume that it's mass produced. Yes, but there are still things that have to be sewn, and they're all sewn by hand. Just because you don't see it, like there isn't a machine where you just throw the fabric and it creates the garment. No, that's not a thing. Somebody literally had to sew this, every little stitch, every button. Like there's a lot of like craftsmanship in it,
and going as well for like the printed of this. Someone designed this. Someone made sure that it was going, and so it's a lot of labor intensive that we
kind of forget about.
Especially with fast fashion, that we just want fast. We want a lot of product. We want all this, but it's like that beauty of sewing and a fashion and all that gets lost. Anyways, I got lost in translation.
But let's go back. Let's wrangle it back.
So that was late 19th century, early 20th century. But because of this, the rise of thrifting became something in the mid 20th century. It became to be a more like, because of like the affordable clothing that it was, and acquiring your unique style with it. So vintage shops, charity shops started to emerge and like create like certain selections of these secondhand garments.
Because now there was things that were considered vintage because they had been in the past, because they had in 20s.
Which now when we go to thrift stores, we see all that, how it's like some of the vintage stuff is higher price because it's like that's such a valuable thing.
And now vintage could be considered something from like the 1980s, which is kind of crazy to think about. Weird.
Moving into the 1960s, 1970s, the rise of a counterculture movement happened. So with young people rejecting this mainstream of consumerism. There we go. Consumerism. A+, Natalie.
Big words.
So thrift stores became like their like havens. Like this is where they found their outfit. This is where they found their style, as well as like it has to do a lot with the previous episode or a few previous episodes. We talked about denims, about the patchwork, about all this stuff. They were creating their own style. They were creating from pieces that were ripped, from pieces that were old. They were remaking it. They were DIYing it. They were making their own styles and designs, not falling into the whole mass production of clothing that was.
I don't know why, but I always think of like two scenes, which like are kind of random, but they kind of remind me of the same scene. So I always think of like Cinderella, when the birds like make her dress. But then I also think of Pretty in Pink, where she has that pink prom dress type of vibe. I don't know why. Like I always just think about that, like reinventing, And a show. Sorry, this is sidetrack. A show that should have had its day in the sun and it didn't. Jane by Design. ABC Family. I will never forgive you for canceling that show. If you have not watched it, please go rediscover it. They have to put it on Netflix, and I know for a fact it would go viral. Like, this show was ahead of its time.
So good.
But we were all stuck with vampires at the time.
And it's so funny because during that time,
nobody watched fashion.
We also had like Tumblr and like the lookbooks type of thing. But it wasn't a big thing just yet. So when that show got canceled is when that raised its popularity. And you're like...
Because Jane by Design, she basically wants to become a fashion designer. She's in high school. She lives this double life because she ends up going for an internship. Turns out she's an assistant. And she ends up, like, she doesn't have money, obviously, to get all of these, like, fashion couture outfits.
No.
So she makes her own. So she'll go thrifting. She'll go through her closet. She'll kind of, like, design her own.
Yeah.
Anyways, that show was ahead of its time. Also, we got the best friend to lovers trope.
Which we don't know to this day if they ended up together.
Technically, they were supposed to, but, we'll leave it at that. Any who's us. Sorry, that has nothing to do with it. Keep going.
So, moving into the 1980s, the 1990s, high fashion followed behind.
Yeah.
On this. So their stores gained that recognition from the designers, the influencers seeking a unique vintage piece. Celebrities, trendsetters, all these people started incorporating thrifted items into their wardrobes. This not only elevated there. Sorry, that was so really hard. As I'm looking to a building where I was like elevated.
I saw that.
There you go.
Your brain was turning.
Elevated their fashion sense, but as well as the status of like a secondhand
which
item.
I think thrifting has always been this thing of self-expression. So it became from like creating and designing it and kind of like reworking it to now like these people in high fashion finding these key pieces that they were inspired by and incorporating it into theirs, which is very interesting.
So now moving into present time to now, the secondhand has not only still left this mark of it being unique, of finding your unique style and all this stuff, but it also has made a mark of environmental factors. So just a whole sustainability thing. It's about basically making sure that end cycle, making sure that not going directly to the problem, which the problem is fast fashion, mass producing. You constantly shopping at these stores, these big stores.
I think it's just the quantity of items, and it's the quantity of, if you don't like it, yes, of course, sometimes it ends at the thrift store, but if it's stained, if it's ripped, if it's X, Y, and Z, it gets damaged, meaning it just becomes a pile of fabric. And so this, we don't see it because we don't see it here taking over our land, right? No. But it is, like, there's literally, like, a mini ocean of, like, fabrics. That's, like, that's man-made.
Of textile waste.
And so, also, like, there's so much effort that goes into making the item. There's also, like, a whole bunch of things that have to do with, like, civil rights and, like, or is it civil rights? Sorry. Labor rights. Like, there's a whole bunch of labor rights.
Like, this has a lot to do as well for those who work in retail about, like, the whole minimum wage and all this stuff. But it's us working in these stores, but it's also for the people behind it
that are
paying. The whole child labor laws did not just happen just because the whole getting paid a minimum wage happened because of that. So there's a lot of issues with fast fashion, and thrifting has become something that helps to reduce that in a way. Especially with people who are fully invested in sustainability or are learning and realize that this shopping secondhand isn't something that has to do with your economic status. It has a lot to do with your mentality for the planet.
Yeah.
And for yourself,
For yourself.
and expanding the Earth's life.
Yeah.
For your
And the
future.
garments wear.
And the garments wear. And how precious it is. Especially how precious, like, these people work so hard for to build these things that we all love, but it's not getting appreciated the way that they're supposed to. And we're not talking about those people that
one of the biggest things that comes to mind is the Rana Plaza. If you guys don't know what that is, definitely go Google it. And it's something that happened that was sad and tragic, and it kind of put the world to like see what these issues that are going on behind the scenes. You know, I won't go too much into it.
No.
I feel like that'll be a topic for another episode. But it is just like, I don't know, it's like very much of like this, like thrifting has become this like new way of shopping, especially now in the 21st century with the internet. Like people are creating bundles, and people will go thrift for you so you can get a capsule wardrobe. A certain type of like look that you want. There's so many videos too.
People who specifically their whole outfit, their whole wardrobe is secondhand pieces that they redesign. So in like wrapping this history part of it, there's more. Again, we have our Zine that explains a little bit more of topics we don't hit, so please give it some love. Please, I work a lot on them. Anyways, so from thrifting becoming a necessity during an economical hardship, it has now become a cultural phenomenon. That has now evolved as something that is unique, that is one of a kind, affordable, and sustainable. So now it's switched its gears. So it doesn't matter if you are in a certain status of economic thingies. Now it's just seen as you as a person, like your style, how you want to do it. Do you want to follow a crowd? Do you want to bring your own spin on stuff? Do you want to...
Very much self-expression.
Self-expression, which I'm glad that I feel like we've gotten into this now, that we have that ability to do that.
I think it has to do with the new generations.
And social media. I feel like it's like you see all these people like build these outfits and you're like, oh my god, I love that. But then another day you're like, oh, but I love this. Oh, but like I love this. Like you don't have a like one set of like
style
it could be that eclectic. You are. It could be all this, which going back to girl bands, Maurice talked about this, about how it's just kind of, it's like her aura, like whatever she's feeling to dress up like for that day, she like embodies it. So it's like the same thing where it's like we have that ability with as well
whatever
thrifting,
you're inspired by,
to do something like that.